Hi, you are welcome to lesson 9 of our training on procurement management for works. The title of this lesson is Types of Insurance Policies in Works Contracts. Here is the course outline for this training. We'll introduce the course to you. We learn about insurance definition. Then we look at key terms used in insurance policies. We'll talk about key features of insurance policies. We talk about types of insurance policies in works contract, and we do the summary and the conclusion of the lesson. Here's the lesson objectives for this training. At the end of this training, you will be able to understand how to explain the meaning and the essence of insurance. You will also be able to understand how to explain the terms used in insurance. You will be able to understand how to present the types of insurance policies used in works contracts. What is insurance? Investopedia defines insurance as a contract represented by a policy in which an individual or entity receives financial protection or reimbursement against losses from an insurance company. Lloyd's also defines insurance as a contract whereby an insurer promises to pay the insured a sum of money or some other benefits upon the happening of one or more uncertain events in exchange for a payment of a premium. There must be uncertainty as to whether the relevant events may happen at all, or if they will occur, for example death, and as to their timing. Key terms used in insurance policies. Number 1 is the premium. This is the price of the insurance policy, typically expressed as a monthly cost. The premium is determined by the insurer based on the business risk profile of the insured person, which may include its credit worthiness. Another one is limit. This is the maximum amount an insurer will pay under a policy for a covered loss. Such maximums may be set per period, e.g., annually, per each loss or injury, or over the term of the policy, also known as a lifetime maximum. Another one is deductible. This is a specific amount the insurance policyholder must pay out of own resources for each respective claims. Deductibles are typically applied per each type of claim and serve two purposes. Number 1 is to lower the premium of a policy and to deter large numbers of insignificant claims. The insured party must have an insured interest in order to be able to procure an insurance policy. It is important for a procuring entity to seek specialist advice when procuring an insurance policy. Types of insurance policies in works procurement. Number 1 is insure the works. Number 2 is insure the goods. Number 3, liability for breach of professional duty. Number 4 is injury to persons and damage to property, as a third party. Number 5 is injury to employees, workmen's compensation. Number 6, other insurances required by law and other local practices. Insurance for works, goods, and breach of professional duties. Let's look at insurance for works. The contractor shall insure the works and keep insured in the joint names of the contractor and the employer from the commencement date until the date of the issue of the taking over certificate for the works. Thereafter, the insurance shall continue until the date of the issue of the performance certificate that is issued at the successful completion of the defect liability period. In respect of any incomplete work for loss or damage arising from any cause occurring before the date of the issue of the taking over certificate for the works, and for any loss or damage occasioned by the contractor in the course of any operation carried out by the contractor for the purpose of complying with the contractor's obligations towards remedying defects and damage or loss in the context of test after completion. The insurance cover must include the works and contractor's documents, together with materials and plant for incorporation in the works for their full replacement value. Another one is an additional amount of 15% of such replacement value or such other amount as may be specified in the contract data to cover any additional cost incidental to the rectification of loss or damage, including professional fees and the cost of demolition and removal of debris. Number C is exclusions from the works insurance policy. The insurance cover provided by the contractor may exclude any of the followings. Number 1 is the cost of making good any part of the works which is defective, including defective material and workmanship, or otherwise does not comply with the contract, provided that it does not exclude the cost of making good any loss or damage to any other part of the works attributable to such defect or non-compliance. Another one is indirect or consequential loss or damage, including any reductions in the contract price for the delay. Again, another one is wear and tear, shortages and pilferages, and unless otherwise stated in the contract data, the risks arising from exceptional events, if any of the exceptional risks may be available at commercially viable cost, then the employer may require it in the contract data. Types of insurance policies in works procurement. Insure the goods, the contractor's equipment, materials, plants, temporary works. The contractor shall insure in the joint names of the contractor and the employer the goods as per the amount stated in the contract data, if not specified or stated, for their full replacement value including delivery to site. The contractor shall maintain this insurance from the time the goods are delivered to the site until they are no longer required for the works. Liability for breach of professional duty. Only if the contractor is responsible for the design of parts of the works covers the contractor's liability arising out of any act, error, or omission by the contractor in carrying out the contractor's design obligations in an amount not less than that stated in the contract data, if not stated, the amount agreed with the employer. It shall also cover liability arising when such contractor design part, that is section or parts or major item of plant, if any, when completed, is found to be not fit for the purpose for which they are intended. Insurance for injury, damages, and others. Injury to persons and damage to property, that is third party. The contractor shall insure in the joint names of the contractor and the employer against liability for death or injury to any person or loss of or damage to any property other than the works arising out of the performance of the contract and occurring before the issue of the performance certificate other than loss or damage caused by an exceptional event. Such insurance shall remain valid from the time the contractor begins any work on site and until the issue of the performance certificate, and shall be as per the amount stated in the contract data. Types of insurance policies in works procurement. C. Injury to employees, workmen compensation. The contractor must obtain and maintain insurance against liability for claims, damages, losses, and expenses, including legal fees and expenses arising out of the execution of the works in respect of injury, sickness, disease, or death of any person employed by the contractor or any of the contractor's other personnel. The employer and the engineer shall also be indemnified under the policy of insurance except for losses and claims arising from any act or neglect of the employer or of the employer's personnel. For subcontractor employees, the insurance may be effected by the subcontractor, but the contractor shall be responsible for compliance with this insurance cover. Other insurance required by law, like mandatory motor vehicle insurance, etc., falls under this category. The contractor shall obtain all insurances for which the contractor is responsible for under the works contract with insurance firms acceptable to the employer, in terms that are acceptable to the employer as agreed by both parties before the date of the letter of acceptance. The insurance policies to be provided are the minimum required by the employer and must be obtained at the contractor's own cost when each premium is paid. The contractor shall promptly submit either or a copy of each receipt of payment to the employer with a copy to the engineer or confirmation from the insurers that the premium has been paid. The limits for all above insurance policies and the corresponding deductibles are stipulated in the contract data. If not stated, the amount are to be agreed with the employer. Summary and conclusion. The types of insurance used to cover risks in the works contract include the following: insurance for the works, goods, liability for breach of professional duty, third-party insurance, workmen compensation, and other insurances required by law or local practice. Works contracts are prone to different types of risks. There are different types of insurance that can be used to cover these risks. Thank you for watching. That brings us to the end of this lesson. Join us in our next lesson, which is lesson 10. The topic of that lesson is conditions of contract for small and large works.